My name is Elder Ripper, and I'm an entrepreneur here in Tokyo, and I'm gonna get PewDiePie to invest in my company. Today, I'm gonna be showing you how to get started with your business. If you wanna get started with entrepreneurship and you don't really know how, then you're gonna wanna stick to the end because I'm gonna share some really important tips that I personally used to start up my business, Gallows. So you have an idea. It's a brilliant idea. No one else on the planet has ever thought of this thing. You've finally had an original thought. Truly a eureka moment. So you must start a business, right? Well, is that truly the case? Now, you might be asking yourself, if it's not the idea, then what is the most important aspect of a startup business? And that's the problem. You see, this is where a lot of first-time founders actually make a big mistake. They focus on the idea for their business rather than the problem for their business, what they're trying to solve. And in fact, you might be surprised that although the idea that you have, that eureka moment, something that is truly and utterly original, is not necessarily what will make a great company for you. What really matters is that you're solving a problem, one that is serious, one that is real, and one that people are willing to pay for. Mark Zuckerberg famously said that there is no one singular eureka moment, but a series of small ideas that accumulate into a massive global solution. And so it's the problem that ends up being a more important driving factor for success for startup companies than the idea that you come up with early on. Now, if the problem is what's more important than the idea, how do you come up with a problem? There are actually two ways that you can do this. The first way is you could go through and work in an industry for anywhere from 2 to 5, 7 years. And you want to pick an industry that you're really interested in that idea space and developing yourself as a person and identifying a problem in. An industry that you think is growing, an industry that you think is interesting, that you're passionate about, and one that you would love to work on and in for the rest of your life. And the majority of all startup companies actually are created in that fashion. 70% of all Y Combinator problems come from people who have worked in an industry and are able to identify with an insider's knowledge what problems that industry is facing. The second way to come up with a startup problem is to go through and talk to a lot of people in the industry that you're looking to address problems in. Basically, if you're not going to go through and get like industry experience, you have to simulate it. You have to go through and have conversations with all sorts of parties and all sorts of people and individual contributors and roles within the industry that you're looking to build a business within. This is a much less likely way for you to come up with your business idea, but you still can make it work. Ultimately, the vast majority of all startup companies are not going to succeed. So it doesn't matter whether or not you go and work in an industry or not. The only thing that will teach you how to be a founder or an entrepreneur is to just go out and do it. I have personally developed companies using both methods, and Gallows as a company was with the second method. So I'm going to share a couple of ways that I went about creating my business. One is LinkedIn. You can use that to find specific professionals. Though I will say some of the drawbacks of using LinkedIn is that it can sometimes be a little difficult getting a good response rate if you're cold connecting with people. So I would definitely recommend leveraging your existing network if you want to use LinkedIn. Second, depending on where you're at and what you're trying to do from a startup perspective, going through and joining networking events or industry-specific conferences can be a great way to go through and build out a network in the space that you're looking to identify problems. And then Reddit. Reddit is a great place to go to depending on what type of product. Reddit is a great place to go to depending on what type of product or service you're looking to offer. There's typically going to be a subreddit for whatever problem you're tackling or whatever problem space that you want to be operating in. For me personally and with Gallows, I use the CRM Reddit space. There are a ton of different users discussing their experiences and their difficulties and problems that they're having with the CRM solutions that are out there right now. And now last but not least, for the biggest tip of all, it's threefold. When you're going through this problem identification process, one thing that you definitely need to keep in mind is that you should keep track of all of this data. One thing that I see happen a lot with first-time entrepreneurs, happen with myself as well, they don't do a good enough job while networking of keeping track of the people that they know, the questions that they're asking, and what information that they're actually gaining from all of the activity that they're doing. So make sure to track your data. Number two is to move quickly. If you're going through and trying to build and identify a problem in this capacity, you're going to need to talk to a lot of people very fast. And then last but not least, and maybe the most important thing to do when doing this sort of problem discovery is always, always, always ask why. Make sure that you're asking open-ended questions and make sure that you're exploring the depths of problems. Don't just take what people say at face value. Really try to explore the background of what problems they're facing. Thank you so much for watching, and PewDiePie, I'm going to get your money.